Hey everyone, I'm Jason, and this is your commentary on Numbers chapter 6. This chapter is all about the Nazarites, a group of people set apart for God through a special vow. This vow can either be a lifelong vow or for any given period of time. And we see this through the Bible. We see lifelong vows, perhaps the most famous one is Samson, but there's also Samuel and John the Baptist. Then we have the short-term vows, which were taken possibly by Jesus, Paul, and several of his disciples. This chapter is broken down into 4 sections. The first part looks at the requirements of the vow, and there's 3 of them. The second part, what happens if a Nazarite becomes unclean by breaking these vows? Thirdly, if it was for a short period of time, how does a man or woman who took the Nazarite vow conclude it? And finally, we see a special blessing from the priest. The Lord said to Moses, "Say to the Israelites, suppose a man or woman wants to make a special promise. They want to set themselves apart to the Lord for a certain period of time. They want to be Nazarites. Then they must not drink any kind of wine. They must not drink vinegar made out of wine of any kind. They must not drink grape juice. They must not eat grapes or raisins. As long as they are Nazarites, they must not eat anything grapevines produce. They must not even eat the seeds or skins of grapes. They must not use razors on their heads. They must not cut their hair during the whole time they have set themselves apart to the Lord. They must be holy until that time is over. They must let the hair on their heads grow long. And they must not go near a dead body during that whole time." So there's 3 restrictions for this vow. 1, you can't have anything produced by grapes. 2, you can't cut your hair. And 3, you're not allowed to touch any dead bodies. But what if their father or mother dies? Or what if their brother or sister dies? Then they must not make themselves unclean because of them. The hair on their heads shows that they are set apart for God. During the whole time they are set apart, they are holy to the Lord. Suppose someone dies suddenly in front of them. That makes the hair they have set apart to the Lord unclean. So they must shave their heads on that day. They will be made clean. That is the 7th day. Then on the 8th day they must bring 2 doves, or they can bring 2 young pigeons. They must bring them to the priest. He will be at the entrance to the tent of meeting. The priest must offer one of the birds as a sin offering, and he must offer the other as a burnt offering. The sacrifices will pay for the sin of the Nazarite man or woman. They sin by going near a dead body. That same day, they must make their heads holy again. They must set themselves apart to the Lord again. They must do it for the same period of time they had agreed to at first. And they must bring a male lamb a year old as a guilt offering. The days before that do not count. That is because they became unclean during the time they were set apart. When they became unclean, by breaking one of these vows, they were supposed to shave off their head and start all over again. This is actually what we see with Samson. By cutting his hair, he broke his vow. It wasn't until his hair grew back out again that Samson's strength returned once more. The time when the Nazarites are set apart will come to an end. Here is the law that applies to them at that time. They must be brought to the entrance to the tent of meeting. There they must present their offerings to the Lord. They must bring a male lamb a year old. It must not have any flaws. It is for a burnt offering. Then they must bring a female lamb a year old. It must not have any flaws. It is for a sin offering. And they must bring a ram that does not have any flaws. It is for a friendship offering. They must sacrifice the offerings together with their grain offerings and drink offerings. And they must also bring a basket of bread made with the finest flour. The bread must be made without yeast. The offering must include thick loaves with olive oil mixed in, and it must also include thin loaves brushed with olive oil. The priest must bring all these things to the Lord. He must sacrifice the sin offering and the burnt offering. He must bring the basket of bread made without yeast, and he must sacrifice the ram. It will be a friendship offering to the Lord. The priest must bring it together with its grain offering and drink offering. Then the Nazarites must shave off the hair that shows they have set themselves apart to the Lord. They must do it at the entrance to the tent of meeting, and they must put the hair in the fire that burns the sacrifice of the friendship offering. After the Nazarites have shaved off their hair, the priest must take a boiled shoulder of the ram. He must remove one thick loaf and one thin loaf from the basket. They must be made without yeast. And he must place the shoulder and the bread in the hands of the Nazarites. Then he must lift up the shoulder and bread and wave them in front of the Lord. They are a wave offering. They are holy and belong to the priest. Other parts of the ram belong to the priest as well. They are the breast that was waved and the thigh that was offered. After the offering is waved, the Nazarites may drink wine. This is the law of the Nazarites, the promise to sacrifice offerings to the Lord. They do it when they set themselves apart, and they should bring anything else they can afford. They must fulfill the promises they have made. They must do so according to the law of the Nazarites. When fulfilling the law of the Nazarites, the man or woman who made the vow had to take special offerings or sacrifices to the tent of meeting, or to the temple. And this is what we see in the New Testament, where Paul takes 4 young men who are Nazarites and helps them fulfill their promises by bringing sacrifices and offerings to the temple. The Lord spoke to Moses. He said, "Tell Aaron and his sons, here's how I want you to bless the Israelites. Say to them, may the Lord bless you and take good care of you. May the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look on you with favor and give you peace. In that way they will put the blessing of my name on the Israelites, and I will bless them." This verse might sound familiar. It is common in the church as a benediction, as a doxology, but you also hear it in Christian music. To any aspiring Christian musicians, you might want to read your Bible, because a lot of the songs that we sing in church come from one or a couple of passages in the Bible, and this is one of them. Who would have thought that one of the most famous ones that we have in Christian music right now comes from Numbers chapter 6. Since this is such a great blessing, what better way to end today's video than to say, may the Lord bless you and take good care of you. May the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look on you with favor and give you peace.